So, my dear fellow students, you have learned a lot about personality in this presentation. Now, taking a short recap of what you have studied, I think is very important because several information has been placed in your mind and your mind is rationally trying out to logically comprehend each and every situation and information. So, it becomes essential that I give a quick brief up of what you have studied till now. My students, you should have known by now that personality is the essence of homeopathy. The essence of homeopathy is personality of the individual who is present in front of you as a sick person. Personality of the sick individual is the essence which you always want to find out in case taking. Personality is the crux. Personality is the road on which you will, when you will travel, you will find simillimum at the end. So, what is personality? Personality is rationally, logically, behaviorally how an individual reacts to a stimuli, which could be either internal or it could be external or both. Okay. So, if a person is subjected to a very big height, he panics. Oh my God, I may fall down. If a person is subjected to stray dogs, and that too he is not afraid of any color of the dog, but he is specially afraid of black dog. Oh my God, he is not afraid of dog, but he says, oh my God, the injection I will be placed. That is what I am afraid of. So, you see, the reaction to the stimuli is governed in personality, and that is why that reaction is very important for you to know in homeopathy. Simultaneously, some more examples of this stimuli. When you see hot and cold, you like something which is very chilled. You may like something which is very hot. You may like something which is very spicy. You may like something is indigestible like sand, coal. These are all a part of personalities. When you like chocolates, magnesium deficiency, these are all a part of personality. Okay? So, the personality is the essence of homeopathy. And the structure of personality, the three fundamental categories: id, ego, superego. You know the moral principle, the part of personality which is governed by morals, not id, it is the superego. The part of personality which is governed purely by pleasure, I want it that way, that is id, you are correct. And the part of personality which is self-preservatory, which plays a balancing act, the part of personality which is the reality, which practices in reality, that is ego. So, you should know what is id, what is ego, the superego. The moral principle is superego, the reality principle is id, I want it my way, it is id, the balanced part is ego. The five fundamental traits where personality revolves, the domains of personality revolves between the five fundamental traits, the two opposite poles. Every individual trait has two opposite poles, maximum, minimum pole, north pole, south pole, the two opposite poles of a personality. When we come into emotions, we see calm, we see nervous. We know what is calm. Calm is when we react in a balanced, composite, harmonious way. When we are facing a situation which may be awkward, when we are facing a situation which is not easy, when we are facing a situation which is challenging, we don't lose our confidence, we don't lose our grit, we don't lose our peace of mind. We take decisions, we act in a reason-gifted, logical way. That means we are calm. If we are behaving in an erratic, haphazard manner, our decisions are not related with logical endings. Our decisions are based on momentary facts, not on concrete evidences. Our decisions are based on whimsical emotions, not on strong, fundamental, positive wills. Then we are nervous. Then there is a definite part, well definite, consolidated. Other is uncertain. Then it is cheerful at one end, other end it is melancholic. When you are cheerful, you are happy, you are very smiley. You are very outspoken, you are very easy. When you are melancholic, you are very difficult to be dealt with. You can't see positive aspect in any situation. The glass will always remain half empty. The life will always remain meaningless. There will always be the darker side of the moon. The brighter side of the moon will always be neglected. There will always be the negative shades of personality you will see. So, coming to next emotion is extroversion, where we see how a person is expanding himself, how a person is conducting himself. When somebody is questioning you and your answer is totally out of the civility, when your answer is totally out of politeness, when your answer is totally out of courtesy, then you are rude in your nature. And when your answer is very polite, when your answer is very courteous, when you are very obedient, then it means you are civil in your response. So, extraversion has civility, rudeness. Simultaneously, extraversion has jolly nature. You know, jolly nature is being happy go round, communicating easily with others, making others happy, bringing smiles on the face of those persons who are sad, dejected. And opposite of jolly is sad, when you can't control your negative feelings of being hurt emotionally, when you can't control the negative feelings of being pessimistic, when you can't control the negative feelings where you feel dejected, no charm in your life is left, where whatever you see in your life, whatever you see in your relationships, you see just shady part, the negative part, the dark side. You are sad. Extroversion is loving. When the loving nature is seen, you are affectionate. You have a tendency to give hug. You see very often in children, they go very easily and hug those people around. Now that hugging nature, that cuddling nature, that attitude of showing their affection towards other persons is called as loving nature. And when that loving nature disappears, the opposite of loving nature is cold-blooded nature. When you are not affected by soft, sweet, harmonious emotions, when you don't show your inner happiness and keep your face as a stone. They say, na, stone-faced person. That means you are unable to demonstrate that affection, that love for a person. So what do they call you? They call you cold personality. Then a very important part of personality, candidness. And candidness has its own extremes of being theoretical in nature. And if you are not theoretical, your opposite is concrete, evidence, logic based. When another part of candidness is you are experiencing multiple different things, you are experiencing multiple different options of a situation, you are experiencing multiple different ways of solving a problem. In one word, you are diversified. And when you are diversified, your approach, your vision is very good, very promising and very positive in its outcome. Opposite of diversity is repetitive, mundane. That means you don't apply your intellect, you don't apply your sharpness, you don't apply your reason gifted mind. You just want to be stereotypical. That is mundane is. Being autonomous or being dependent, being self-reliant or being reliant, being self-sufficient or being needy, that is autonomous and dependent. When you can convey your own, when you want to work on your own terms, when you want to convey your own message, then it is autonomous. And when it is dependent, you lack grit, you lack courage, you lack knowledge, you lack enthusiasm, you lack anything which will make you perfect in your task. And when you lack the necessary inputs for being perfect in your task, you become repetitive and soon you will be outdated. Warmth has its own measures, kind-hearted and cruel, reliance and distrust, cooperative and disobliging. You know, disobliging means you are not recognizing the efforts others have done for you. When you are a thankless person, where you cannot appreciate what others have done for you. Being cooperative is when you understand, when you are empathetic. I will come again and this word will be explained in detail. Empathy, not sympathy. My students, remember, these two things are totally different. When you are empathetic, then you are cooperative. When you are non-empathetic, you are disobliging. So, last remaining emotion what we have studied till now is meticulous, perfectionist or non-meticulous, inconsiderate, ignorant, chaotic, those who are disorganized, those who are disbalanced, those who are unable to plan the outcome of their work. And meticulous means those who are diligent, those who are perfectionist, those who plan anything and everything. Now we move ahead on a very important part of understanding personality. You see, there are two things, two realms, extrovert and introvert. Simultaneously, another two realms, stable and unstable. So now when you have these two realms in front of you, you are governing four aspects of personality. And my dear students, all the people around you, if you try to understand their personality, if you try to understand their conduct, if you try to understand their behavior, they could be either melancholic personality, they could be either choleriac personality, they could be either sanguine personality, or they could be phlegmatic personality. Remember, homeopathy is nothing without understanding melancholic meaning in detail, sanguine meaning in detail, phlegmatic in detail, choleriac in detail. My students, I want to request you, if you will understand this table, if you understand this diagram, if you understand this literary document, then it will help you not only in your academics in first year, second year, third year professional BHMS and final year professional BHMS. It will help you throughout your life, because these four temperaments, these four aspects of personality is what you encounter in your day-to-day life. Now let's start with the green signal, the choleriac. There are certain attributes which are written here for choleriac. Each and every word has to be carefully examined by your mind, by your thought, and by your process of reasoning and understanding. You have to understand what do you mean by the word touchy. There are some persons who have threshold of reaction. Touchy means threshold of reaction. In some cases, we see, in some persons, we see that we keep on abusing them, we keep on instigating them, we keep on irritating them, and they remain calm, they remain stable, they don't lose their edge, they don't lose their peace of mind, they don't lose their focus. Whatever their focus is, you may keep on irritating them, you may keep on abusing them, you may keep on spreading a bad mouth for them. For such persons, you cannot use the word touchy. It is for those persons who have a very low threshold value. Now, what do you mean by low threshold value? You say a slight amount of bad word for them and they immediately react. These people are popcorn personalities, just like popcorns, they switch over fire. A little bit of fire is instigated and they start jumping like popcorns. Such individuals are touchy. They feel very bad for a very long time. They can't take a positive side in criticism. They always feel you are going to harm them. They always feel you are saying something bad for them, because they in themselves are so reliant, they feel so full of capacity in them that they can't improve. It is difficult to make them more perfect. And when it is coupled with their arrogance in conduct, such people, whenever incited about a little bit more effort where they can be further good, where they can further augment, where they can further improve, they take it on a negative side. These are called as touchy. Now some names must be coming into your mind. That's very good. That means you are in the presentation. Good. Simultaneously, there is restless. Those who are always on the edge, never satisfied in one work. From one situation to another situation, from one work to another work. Without accomplishing the second work, they start the third work. So jumping from one situation to the other, that is a restless personality. These personality, when they start studying Mathematica, then they feel, no, let's study organon. When they start organon, oh my God, anatomy is going to be very huge. When they study anatomy, oh, I am so tired, let's go to physiology. And they are unable to accomplish anything. Their restlessness is an inner drive which makes them unsatisfactory. It is very difficult to satisfy them and they become extremely restless. And when they are restless and they are informed about anything, when they are lectured about anything, when they are noted down about anything, their reaction becomes out of control. Now, out of control reaction, out of control human behaviorally reaction for a very normal, casual stimulus. That means for a very casual, normal talk, the reaction of a person is extremely outrageous. Then we say the person is extremely aggressive. When we don't want to hurt a person, when our words are very soft, when our words are very kind, when our words are very polite, and even by soft, kind, polite words, somebody is feeling offended, somebody is feeling excited, then excitable temperament comes. My students, these all are the features of choleriac personality, choleriac nature, choleriac behavior we are studying. Such persons cannot remain in a single state of mind. Their state of mind being restless in nature, being easily affected by the surroundings, being dissatisfactory, a constant change is sought after them. They cannot find a single peaceful center, hence they become changeable. You see, it's a chronology. Chronology means there is a very systematic way by which we are progressing from touchy, restless, aggressive, excitable. Now we are on a changeable mood. Next, the most important part of choleriac is without thinking, spontaneously answering, rapidly firing, being impulsive. This is yet another trait where the person is a loaded gun. They don't take a deep thought, they don't take a time to ponder, they don't take a time for reflection in themselves. What they want to do is they just want to fire. As soon as the question is brought, as soon as the situation is brought in front of them, they are bound to react promptly. They are bound to react immediately. It may prove to be fruitful. It may prove to be good for them if their answering, if their response, if their reaction is reason gifted. But if they are excitable in nature, if they are very touchy, feeling touchy, then in such cases the responses are very impulsive but with a negative outcome. And when the response is made from a peaceful mind, it will have a positive outcome. But yes, one more thing which is very positive for them, they look always on the brighter side of a situation. They are optimistic in nature. They are optimistic in nature. Now, opposite to choleriac, the sad, depressed, the Devdas personality, what we say? We say the melancholic personality. Now, there it was touchy. They felt bad. Here, suddenly, the mood will change. You won't be able to predict You were laughing at that time, and now why are you crying so bad? You were so calm at that time, now why are you so violent? So that moodiness, that sudden volcano erupting in their nature is a feature of melancholic, moody nature. They are very, very anxious. Anxious about forebodings, anxious about future, anxious about health. What will happen to them? How well my results will shape? How am I studying? Am I studying up to my fullest potential? Anxiety, being nervous, being on the edge is always a feature of them. And what happens when you try to say, Arey, don't worry, you are studying in a very positive way. Don't worry, your papers will be easy. Don't worry, you can clear your exams. They are not acceptable to such things because of their non-rigid, non-accepting nature. But despite of being rigid, they are not uncivil. That is a very important thing you need to understand. I may not agree with you, but my answers will be very polite when I will respond to you. So the word which you have next for me is not uncivil, is sober. They may be rigid, but when they answer you, you will observe a sense of decency and you will observe a sense of politeness in their answers. They are sober in their nature. But as said, when you are anxious, your thought process is clouded, you can't think in a reasonable manner. So in such cases, you always see half glass empty, you always see the darkness side, and then you become pessimistic. So that is why, although melancholics may be sober, but they are not positive outlookers, they are negative outlookers. They only see the dark cloud. They are never unable to focus on the silver lining the dark cloud carries with it. And because of their anxiety, they don't want others should notice their anxiety. Nobody wants to show themselves weak. They don't want others should notice their anxiety. And because of their rigid nature, they become reserved. They don't interact. They make themselves aloof. They corner themselves. They cut themselves from their outer world. They live in their own castle. They are reserved in nature. They don't like to socialize. Let's go for a party. Let's sit, take a get together. Let's hang out. Hanging out with groups is not their cup of tea. Melancholics, they are sober, but they are reserved also. And as I said, when somebody is reserved, they are unsociable. Means mixing with the community, mixing with people around is the one last thing they can do. My dear fellow colleagues, sanguine is the next level of nature which you have to understand. Sanguine, these people, opposite of unsociable is sociable. So these people, they love to go outside, they love to interact, they love to be in company. And whenever there is such a nature, automatically the two words will come to your mind, outgoing and talkative, because they are expressing themselves. As they are expressing themselves, they become talkative, communicative. And when somebody says something to them, they respond immediately. They answer you immediately. They give back to you a piece of their mind. So the three words have their chronology: outgoing, talking, responsive. And that is what you understand by a sanguine temperament. Easygoing, lively, carefree. Easygoing, lively, carefree is yet another important aspect of their personality, where we have seen being excitable in nature, looking at the negative side is not their cup of tea. They resolve everything with a logic. They don't press the panic button immediately. They are not so impulsive that they want to immediately react into a situation. They take their time, easygoingly, thinkingly, being in a positive outcome, they react to a situation, and hence lively, carefree and contented personalities are seen in sanguine temperament. The last which is left for us is, can you tell me the name? Yes, it is phlegmatic. They are again careful. Now, being outgoing and being careful are two different things. Careful means, as I told you, persons working on superego, moral principles. Okay, so they are careful, thoughtful about everyone. They just don't answer discourteously. They are rarely impolite. They know if they are rude, what harm it can bring to them and what grief and sorrow it can cause to others. And when they are so balanced in their nature, they are non-excitable, they are non-touchy, they are non-moody, so they become peaceful. Peace is there in their nature, calmness is there in their nature, and their reactions will be very much controlled. So, the next feature of phlegmatic is controlled. And such persons, when you give them a task, it will always be completed. So, they are responsible, placid. Hence, when you understand all these words, when you understand the framing of all these words, when you understand how these words are expressed in individuals, in what situation, in what circumstance, how or why such people are reacting, and you identify these traits in persons, it is then you are identifying the personality of a person, and that means you are going in a brilliant pathway on the lines of homeopathy, because now I am coming to you on the development of personality, and as we know, the development of personality and personality, they are very important in homeopathy. Now, enduring patterns, perceiving the nature of a person, how he is reacting, how he is understanding to a situation, they may either be absorbed from their environment, external environment, or they are present in their genes. When we say like father, like son, father को भी बदतमीजी पे गुस्सा आता था, father could also cannot tolerate any type of imprudence, and he also cannot tolerate any type of imprudence. Mother cannot tolerate any type of injustice, the daughter cannot tolerate any type of injustice. So, this in words of Chess and Thomas, development of personality may be genetic in nature or it may be environmental in nature. And when we say environmental in nature, it covers the whole environment, her intrauterine environment for that inborn child. Remember, this is the domain of homeopathy, the intrauterine environment experienced by the unborn child. That also shapes the personality. We have numerous literature, Indian literature, where we see the examples of intrauterine life experiencing information, sharing information, and developing their own protocol of achieving a situation. Mahabharata is a very good example of that intrauterine acquisition of personality. There are so many other examples of intrauterine personalities. That is why when females are pregnant, everybody says read good books, read Bible, read Quran, read Gita, read Guru Granth Sahib. These positive books will have a very positive impact on personality. So, in the words of Chess and Thomas, development of personality is genetical as well as it occurs from her environmental and how they progress in life. But the most important personality development was given by Erik Erikson's charts of personality. You are seeing three things here. How you have to understand these things is very important. You see, there is a condition written in the third part. First is written hope. Now, hope is what you expect. I am teaching you. I am hopeful. You must be understanding something. Now, either it will lead to the development of trust or it will lead to the development of mistrust. When you are hoping a positive answer, when you are hoping a very good marks in your test, and when you see the paper in your hands, you get 2 out of 20, you get 4 out of 40, you get 100, you get 10 out of 60. And it is that then you realize how much silly mistakes you have done in your paper. And it is at that time, if you trust yourself, you will move ahead in life. You will be very calm, you will be confident, and you will study more. If you lose faith in yourself, you will lose interest in your studies. So Erik Erikson explained that personality is developed when an individual is facing certain situations. And if the results are repetitive, unfortunately, if the results are mundane, unfortunately, if there is always a bad result, then a lack of grit, lack of courage, and mistrust develops in you. And you are dejected from that path. You are diversified from that path. You leave that path. And a typical personality develops. When you are always expecting positive results from your mother and father. My students, dear students, life is very precious. Very, very precious. And we are seeing a very bad trend nowadays. Repeated failure in our exams is driving us to a dead end. One failure is not the end of life. Success is failure turned inside out. You just have to take a 180-degree turn. When you keep on facing hopelessness, when you keep on experiencing failures, then that dejection leads to severe mistrust. And mistrust clouds your intelligence. Mistrust clouds your thought process, and you are not able to take the right decision. So when you examine a person, see how he has experienced things in life, how his hope has been shattered or built in his life. The next is will. You have seen emotions autonomy. Now will is related with autonomy as well as shame. When you achieve success in your life, you generate autonomy. When after your repeated best efforts, you are unable to achieve success in life, what do you encounter? Guilt, shame. And again, when such experiences are repeatedly happening with the person again and again, they develop that type of personality trait. The third situation in life is purpose of existence. What purpose you are here for? Are you fulfilling your purpose? Are you fulfilling the purpose as a student? You secure very good marks in your first year. You secure bright marks in your first year. Maybe you secure bright marks in your 2 subjects, average marks in your 2 subjects. Still in these cases you have said, yes, we have taken an initiative, my son. My daughter, you have taken a good initiative. You have secured good marks in all the 4 grades. But what happens if you get flunked in 3 subjects and you secure average marks in 1? At that time you develop guilt. You wasted your entire 1 year of BHMS. And now the result is not up to your expectations of your pre-university or your midterms. So you have to convert that guilt into success. How you can do it? You should take further initiatives. You should change your experiences. You should change your ways of working technology, working methodology. If you keep on working with the same methodology, you will again receive failure. If you again working with the same methodology, you will again receive failure, and ultimately mistrust, shame and guilt will develop. So change your path if you want to achieve success. Next, Erikson says competency, a very important part. We all are exposed to this feature every day in our life, every moment in our life. We are facing competition everywhere in our life. And Darwin says survival of the fittest. And what do you mean by the fittest? Those who are industrious. Industrious doesn't mean that you have a factory. No, my kids. Industrious means a personality which works hard, which works tirelessly. Without being exhausted, you are working. That is an industrious personality. And if you are not working and seeing just others and develop a complex, you get an inferiority complex. Confused. When your reason gifted logic mind is not working. I have really dealt enormously on reason gifted and logical mind. And when you are not working on reasoning, your conduct is not logic based, you will be having a role deficiency. You cannot be a role model. You cannot develop an identity. And when you work based on logic, based on reasoning, you develop an identity of yourself. And finally, love, the most important part of your life, my life, everyone's life. If we don't feel loved, we feel isolated. If we feel the love of a father, we feel his affection. If we experience the love of a mother, we experience the affection of a mother. If we experience the love of our elder sisters, younger sisters, we feel their affection. If we feel the love of near and dear ones, we feel their affection. We feel their intimacy, and affection ultimately becomes its intimacy. So we say, I have a very strong bond with my father, I have a very strong bond with my sister, I have a very strong intimacy with my friend. That means you have experienced their affection. And if you are cast away, if you are a loner, if you have thrived alone, that means you are living in an isolation. And that is again a very negative aspect of personality. So now, of the Erickson's 8 part of personality development, we have studied the 6 core parts of personality development. The remaining 2 parts, the 2 situations, care and despair, which mold your personality, are also very important for you to understand. Care may have its stagnation or generativity. That means if the care is monotonous, if the care is stereotypical, then it is stagnation. If the care is such that it innovates you, it excites you, it creates you, it forces you to create a new thing, then it is generativity. And the most important troublesome personality development occurs from desperation. Life makes us desperate often. And if we have a good metal, if we have a good substance, if we are positive, if we are reasonably sound and calm in our reactions, then we develop integrity. And if we are blinded by prejudice, if we are blinded by false thoughts, blinded by touchy nature, moody nature, excitable nature, then it leads to the development of ego. And ego ultimately destroys your personality. So, dear friends, dear students, always remember the Erickson's 8 core dimensions: despair, care, competency, confusion, love, hope, will, purpose. These 8 core dimensions will always shape up your personality, and whenever you are interacting, you should remember that these dimensions shape up the personality of an individual. Fellow students, homeopathy and personality, as I am telling you, go hand in hand. And when I told you initially, personality is the essence of homeopathy, this is what I meant. Through the personality, we create a portrait of sickness of that individual. And portrait of the sickness of that individual is never same in 2 persons suffering from an identical disease. You may have 2 same cases of cholelithiasis, gallbladder stones. You may have 2 same cases of musculoskeletal disorders, rheumatoid arthritis, simple arthritis, inflammatory arthritis, traumatic arthritis. But all those 2 cases which have same disease may not have, will not have same individuality. Why? They don't have same individuality because their portrait of sickness, in technical terms, totality of symptoms, the totality of symptoms is not the same. And the totality of symptoms is purely governed by the personality. So again I am making myself repeat that personality is the essence of homeopathy. And if you really want to annihilate the sickness of an individual in its true sense, if you really want to achieve what Master Samuel Hahnemann has said in his Organon, you really want to achieve, you really want to put the patient on the path of recovery or cure, then it is very important for you to remember what is personality of an individual, how his personality has developed, whatever he has faced. That will help you out throughout your life. Thank you very much. Take care.